Good evening, and thank you for coming out in this weather tonight. My name is Alexandra Gage, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about the Zoom R24 multi-track recording unit. Music has been an integral part of my life from an early age on. I've always played piano, I play guitar, I play mandolin, I do a little bit of singing. I've spent the last 14 years steeped in music as I married a professional musician. Through the years, I've developed a fondness for being on the other side of the music, through recording and working with sound. The Zoom R24 lets me take this hobby anywhere I want through its ease and small size. And I hope you enjoy learning about the R24 as much as I enjoy using it. Now, that said, professional musician, that's my husband, I asked him to record a short 30-second track for us, and I'll play that for you now. Wanted to make sure just to keep it to 30 seconds. Now that track was simply a bass track, a rhythm track, and a solo track. They were all recorded on the R24 using no other equipment, mixed down and played as one project. And it was done very easily in a short amount of time. So, now that we've heard what the R24 can do, let's talk about exactly what it is and what it can do. It's essentially the total music production solution. Now, I didn't come up with that. That's what Zoom calls it. It's a recorder, an interface, a controller, and a sampler. It's a complete, compact, and portable music creation system with 4 functions: a 24-track recorder, an audio interface with 8 ins and 2 outs, a DAW control surface compatible with Mackie control, and a drum machine sampler with pads and a loop sequencer. Now, DAW control is essentially when you're controlling the Cubase software and other recording software, or mixing and mastering software. So first, let's talk about the unit as a recorder. You can simultaneously record 8 tracks and play back 24 tracks. The capability allows you to capture live band performances, record drum kits with multiple mics, and make other recordings of multiple sound sources. You can then play back 24 tracks in a WAV format file. Now, WAV format is a format that anybody can use. It's not a proprietary file created by the Zoom. You can use the undo-redo function, which I think is fantastic. So you're recording, you like the way it sounds, you go and you change some of the settings and you don't like the way it sounds, you use the undo-redo button, and it takes you back to that original set that you used the time before you changed them up. When you complete a song, you can mix it down and save a stereo mix of each project onto the R24. Now, you can also save it on other devices, and we'll get into that later on. It can also be used as an audio interface that supports 8 inputs and 2 outputs. It functions as an audio interface enabling direct input of sounds into a computer. Support for 24-bit encoding ensures a high-quality sound, so you know that the sound that you're recording in and the sound that you get out of the unit is going to be the same when you use it as an interface with your computer. 8 input channels and 2 output channels can be used simultaneously. The internal DSP effects of the R24 can also be used at a sampling rate of 44 kilohertz. A dedicated knob lets you adjust the balance between the DAW software, your Cubase, playback sound, and the direct input sound when monitoring. The unit can also be used as a controller. You can control surface functions for most DAW software, and I keep saying Cubase because that's usually the one that everybody knows. It uses a control surface for DAW transfer functions such as playing, record, and adjusting the levels. When you use, if anyone's used software like Cubase, you know when you're using your computer and you have to use a mouse, and you're trying to control everything. That can be very difficult. So what essentially this controls your software. So you want to adjust several levels, you can use this. You want to hit play, you can use this, and you don't have to manipulate it with your mouse going back and forth on a computer. When you want to cut something, you want to turn something instantly, you can just use this unit. You can also assign 5 function keys to various DAW software commands, and you can assign them to the unit. So if you don't want to do something different than play, you want to use it as a cut or whatever, you can assign those. There's five function keys that you can use with the software. It's also a sampler. The unit is also a sampler. It has a 24 voice sampler with 8 pads and 3 banks. Built-in sampler function allows you to use any audio file on any track as a loop. So say you have a guitar riff you like, or a rhythm pattern you like, or a vocal pattern you like, but you don't want to repeat it over and over and over again manually, because let's face it, when you do something over and over manually like that, an old school way, chances are you're going to be a little bit offbeat. You're going to maybe be off pitch. You might hit a wrong note, and then the whole recording is destroyed. This way, you record that little bit as a snippet, and you create a loop out of it. And this, you can do all of that on the unit. You create the loop. You use a display waveform for visual confirmation with setting loop intervals. That way, you know I repeat it over and over again, and I want it repeated every 5 seconds. I want it repeated every 10 seconds. Well, whatever your interval is, you know that each one is going to be the same on the unit, and when you play it back. You can also use time stretching to change the tempo without changing the pitch. Now, this is very important. So say you have a background vocal that repeats itself, but you feel like you want to speed up the tempo of the song. You can take this loop and time stretch it so that the tempo is shorter, or faster or slower, but it doesn't actually change the pitch of the recording, which is very important. Obviously, normally when you stretch anything or shrink something on a computer, it changes. This allows you to keep the pitch keep the pitch the same throughout. You can also cut unneeded parts of loops. So say you decide, well, you know what, I really don't want that to go on that long. I want it to repeat, or I don't really want it to start like that. Within the unit, you can cut off beginnings or ends and change up the sequence before you put it into a loop. The sampler and recorder can also be used together seamlessly, allowing you to also record instrument performances while playing back the loops. So, say you have a rhythm pattern put in, now you can go back and solo over that while listening to it, so you can record and listen to it at the same time. And this allows you to not do it all with one unit, instead of having to record something, play it back on a different device while you record, say, your soloing or your vocals. You can also create your own beats with, it has a rhythm machine in it. It has a powerful drum machine with 10 types of drum kits that use linear PCM samples. With touch-sensitive drum pads, which is right down here, you can program your own original beats and save up to 511 of them, which is a lot. The rhythm patterns that you create can be used just like audio loops. You can trigger them with this pad also. So you have your kick, your snare, your closed hat, your open hat, your crash, ride, tom 1, and tom 2. And this is essentially, you can make your beats with this. And then you can signal them to start through that pad also. You can also create sections and turn them into loops for backing tracks also. There's also 472 patterns included in here, which have some intros, some fills, some endings, and other phrase variations. And I'm sure if any of you here have ever played music, the first question is, how are we going to end the song? Everybody can keep playing and playing, but no one ever thinks, how are we going to end this song? So this allows you to use some of the presets to provide an intro that gets the song going, you don't know how to start, and an outro so you can end the song without just ending it. You can also use 2 of these machines together and record 16 tracks. So the synchronization system generates a clock signal based on USB that attaches the 2 units together. And all that's saying is it uses USB timing, which means there won't be any delay between the 2 units. One unit is set up as the host, the other unit is set up as the slave. So essentially, one unit you will do all of the monitoring and changing the levels, and the other unit will just be used as a extra plugins essentially. So then you can record all the 16 tracks at the same time. You can go back and record another 16 tracks, and you can play them all back together up to 48